This is Top Accolade Global News Updates. I am CEASEFIRE Jackridge. Hamas has presented a Gaza ceasefire proposal to mediators and the US that includes the release of Israeli hostages in exchange for freedom for Palestinian prisoners, hundreds of whom are serving life sentences. According to a proposal seen by Reuters, Hamas said the initial release of Israelis would include women, children, elderly, and EU hostages in return for the release of 700 to 1,000 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. According to the proposal, the release of Israeli female recruits is included. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said a new Gaza truce proposal presented by Hamas to mediators was still based on unrealistic demands. His office said an update on the issue would be handed to the War Cabinet and Extended Security Cabinet on Friday. Egypt and Qatar have been trying to narrow differences between Israel and Hamas over what a ceasefire should look like, as a deepening humanitarian crisis has 1/4 of the population in the battered Gaza Strip facing famine. Qatari officials did not immediately respond to a request for comments. Egypt is seeking to reach a ceasefire in Gaza, ramp up aid deliveries to the Strip, and allow for displaced Palestinians in south and center of the enclave to move to the north, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said on Friday. 2 years into office, President Donald Trump authorized the Central Intelligence Agency to launch a clandestine campaign on Chinese social media aimed at turning public opinion in China against its government. According to the former U.S. officials with a direct knowledge of the highly classified operation, 3 former officials said the CIA created a small team of operatives who use bogus internet identities to spread negative narratives about Xi Jinping's government, while leaking disparaging intelligence to overseas news outlets. The effort, which began in 2019, has not been previously reported. During the past decade, China has rapidly expanded its global footprint, forging military pacts, trade deals, and business partnerships with developing nations. The CIA team promoted allegations that members of the ruling Communist Party were hiding ill-gotten money overseas and slammed as corrupt and wasteful China's Belt and Road Initiative, which provides financing for infrastructure projects in the developing world, the sources said. Although the U.S. officials declined to provide specific details of these operations, they said the disparaging narratives were based in facts despite being secretly released by intelligence operatives on the false cover. The efforts within China were intended to foment paranoia among the top leaders there, forcing its government to expend resources chasing intrusions into Belgium's tightly controlled internet, 2 former officials said. Global stocks were set to end the week on a tepid note following 7 weeks of gains after hotter than forecast U.S. inflation knocked bets for how soon and often the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates. MSCI's Global Equity Index was down 0.2% on Friday and flat for the week, following a strong rally for most of the first quarter of the year. The dollar index, which measures the currency against the euro, yen, and 4 other major peers, added 0.05% at 103.45, following a rally heading for its best week since January. The most turned cautions after a bigger than expected rise in producer prices in US data on Thursday added to a hot consumer inflation reading earlier in the week. Traders have caught the odds of the US Federal Reserve, the world's most influential central bank, cutting rates in June to 60% from about 67% late on Wednesday, according to LSEG's Rate Probability app. For 2024, the market is now pricing in 3 rate cuts, down from 3 to 4 roughly 2 weeks ago, and around 7 late last year. The mood turned cautions after a bigger than expected rise in producer prices in US data added to a hot consumer inflation reading earlier in the week. Japanese auto rivals Nissan Motors and Honda Motor are considering a strategic partnership to collaborate on producing key components for electric vehicles, EVs, and artificial intelligence in automotive software platforms. The companies said Friday the potential partnership could help the two develop economies of scale in producing EVs as Japan's automaker face heavy competition from China's BYD, Tesla, and others. Nissan was a pioneer in electric vehicles, EVs, with its all-electric Leaf model, but has struggled alongside other legacy automakers in the face of increasing competition from nimbler new entrants. Honda's sale also lagged those of rivals and battery-powered vehicles, accounted for less than 0.5% of its worldwide sales of about 2.8 million cars over the first 9 months of 2023. Company data showed the two companies signed a non-binding memorandum of understanding to look at areas of potential collaboration, but have yet to determine the scope. Under President Mike Toshihiro, Nissan has existing business alliance with Renault and Mitsubishi Motors, but this will not be affected by a potential alliance with Honda. Nissan cooperative with Renault on EVs, mainly in Europe. The next Nissan electric Micra will share the same architecture as the new Renault 5 and be built in the same plant in northern France. Nissan and Renault last year reduced the scope of their years-long alliance, and Renault has since signed agreements with new partners such as China's Geely. A Michigan jury convicted the father of a teenager who fatally shot 4 classmates at a high school near Detroit of manslaughter after prosecutors argued he bore responsibility because he and his wife gave their son a gun and ignored warning signs of violence. James Crumbley, 47, was found guilty in his trial, carried out a month after his wife, Jennifer Crumbley, was found guilty on manslaughter charges stemming from the shooting. James Crumbley faced 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 for each of the victims at Oxford High School in the 2021 shootings. Jurors began deliberating on Wednesday. Both James and Jennifer Crumbley will be sentenced on April 9th. Manslaughter carries a penalty of up to 15 years in prison. The Crumbley's son, Ethan, was 15 at the time of the shooting at Oxford High School involving a semi-automatic handgun. He pleaded guilty in 2022 to 4 counts of first-degree murder and other charges and was sentenced to life in prison without parole in December. The US, a country with persistent gun violence, has experienced a series of school shootings over the years, often carried out by current or former students. The Crumbleys were the first parents to be charged with manslaughter in a child's school shooting. Mark Donald, also present in jury, with texts that Ethan Crumbley had sent to a friend and journal entries he had written in the months leading up to the shooting, in which he talked about wanting medical attention and hearing voices, but he was worried his parents would be pissed. That is the size of top accolade global news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Friday.